So this entered my mind. I guess you could say it dropped my spirit as I was driving back home from work earlier. And I was thinking, for all you single people out there who feel lonely, who feel depressed, who feel insecure and cynical about if they will ever enter a relationship or get married in the future. And this video is specifically geared for single people under the age of 35. So anybody that's like a millennial or Generation Z that's been single for a long time. When I say long time, I mean like over a year. This message is for you. And the title of this video is "The Grass is Greener on the Other Side," or I should say, the grass is always greener on the other side. And what I mean by that is I'm going to elaborate a little bit about myself. Now, a lot of you will be shocked or in disbelief. A lot of your minds will be blown when I tell you this fact about myself, but I have been single as long as I have been saved. And that duration of time has been 12 years almost. I got saved right after I got out of a relationship, if you want to call it that. But anyways, a lot of you are probably thinking, how have I managed? How have I kept myself together? I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. And you guys are all saying that from a mindset of insecurity. I'll tell you the truth. The first few years were extremely tough. I thought I was going to have, actually, I almost did have a nervous breakdown because I was losing my mind. Because I thought that the whole world, my state of happiness, my self-esteem, my social status revolved around the fact that, oh, I'll get married. Or oh, I'll never be able to enter a relationship again. When that's far from the truth. That's all cultural brainwashing. Our culture makes people that have been single long term, it makes them feel bad about themselves, like there's something wrong with them. Oh, you haven't been in a relationship for 2 years. You must be creepy, or you must be closet G word. There's something inherently wrong with you. When in fact, a lot of the people that say that are saying that from their own insecurities. They're projecting, in other words, because they've been in so many dysfunctional relationships themselves, because they haven't been able to find the happiness that they thought they would find in their relationship. They weren't able to live out that romantic novel or that Disney that Disney World type fantasy, you know. So now they realize they're stuck and they're burdened, especially if they have children. So what do? Somebody that's single, that's not carrying the crosses of more than one people, somebody that only has to worry about just themselves. What do? They project their insecurities onto them, because single people have less stress, less responsibility, less heartache, less frustration. than most people that are in long-term relationships. Now, let me get to why I'm titling this video, "The Grass is Greener on the Other Side." If you want an antidote to your self-pity and insecurity and lack of fulfillment or lack of happiness as a single person, watch the remainder of this video and listen very closely. Like I said, the first few years of my 12-year long duration of being single were the toughest. But here's what got me out of it. Here's what got me out of the self-pity. Here's what got me out of the depression and the loneliness. I began to realize I wasn't all that lonely and I wasn't missing out on any kind of euphoria or bliss when I got a few jobs for the past several years where I was working with the public. And in these jobs, working in sales, working with the public, I was constantly around married couples who were customers of the business I was working for. And I can say this with complete confidence that very, very, very few of them seemed happy. It was the norm. In fact, it wasn't even noticeable. It was almost expected that all the couples that I was working with that were in my customer base were frustrated, were in a constant state of distress, were dysfunctional. They were sarcastic with one another, and they always seemed annoyed. You could feel the heaviness as soon as they would enter my presence. I could feel it. You could just feel the dysfunctionality. And as soon as I would finish dealing or working with my married couple customers, I felt a sigh of relief because that absorption of their toxicity was finally over with. And I'm sure a lot of you watching are probably thinking to yourself, well, you're being biased. You're saying this to rationalize your own state of singleness. You're saying this to try to keep from being introspective, blah, blah, blah. You're just tainted. No. And I can explain why. When you work with hundreds of people, when you're dealing with the public, you intuitively and subconsciously begin to pick up on people's social cues. You pick up on their body language. It becomes second nature. That's what makes certain people very effective when it comes to working with the public. You can intuit people like it's nobody's business. I can only say that there were only 3 occasions where I saw couples that seemed happily married. And when I say happy, I don't mean like, ah! What I mean is where they were at peace with one another and there was a mutual respectability. So, where I'm going with all this is that this is what caused me to break out of my self-pity. I had developed a grass is greener on the other side mindset without realizing it until I started working around all these disgruntled married people. I thought their lives were better than mine. I thought I was missing out on something that they had that I didn't. When in all actuality, it's most likely to be the opposite. because when you get married, you're taking on the other person's stress as well as much as your own. And the toxicity factor, you can't run away from it. You can't avoid it. You can only contend with it. And there's one more thing I wanted to mention is, oh yes, I have had so many married people or people in long-term relationships, if you want to call it that. I think that's a worldly term because I associate with fornication. By biblical standards it is. But anyways, people that are married or in long-term relationships, so many of them have confided in me and said, I regret entering a relationship. I regret being married. Stay single as long as you can. Or, I wish I was still single. So as a single person that's under the age of 35, next time you feel bad about yourself, or insecure, or lonely, or like you're missing out, just remember everything I said in this video. You have freedoms, you have stability, you have a peace of mind, you have opportunities that people in relationships could only dream of having.